Hey guys, another video for our Castles, Shrines and Temples in Japan playlist. This is quite a common scenario in Japan. Often have a scene like this, very 21st century there with the wide streets and the new houses and so on going on. And then up here on the hill, a little haven of ancient Japan. And this is really common. This happens to be in a small country town, but this is equally as common in the big cities. You'll have a big city with big buildings and cars roaring up and down the street and people hurrying by, and a little entranceway like this, and you step through the entranceway and into a little island of calm in amongst all the 21st century goings on. So it really is quite striking. And this particular place is particularly nice. That's why we're showing it to you. The landscaping, the gardening. The garden here is quite a beautiful one. So not unusual, but particularly nice. You can see there's a little shrine there. This is quite common in this is a Buddhist temple, and quite common in the grounds of shrines and temples to have other small shrines and little deities and things around the place. So at either end of this walkway, we've got these dudes. Very common in Buddhism to have some very strong representations of deities like this. So quite scary looking guys. The idea is that they're strong. They're usually armed, not always, but usually armed, and strong characters that are dominating the demons, dominating the evil spirits, sort of thing. So this is quite common, and quite common in entrances to temples too. Quite often on either side of the entranceway they'll have characters like this, and they're sort of guards. They're sort of guarding this place against evil spirits. It's quite a scene, isn't it? It's interesting because, you know, Buddhism as a belief, as a way of thinking, is obviously very non-aggressive, and you know there hasn't been much in the way of wars started by Buddhists. You know, it's not usually what they do. But in the religion, there is a lot of hardcore stuff. Those of you that are familiar with Buddhism would know that, of course. Particularly some of the sects in Japan. There's Tendaishu in particular is a Buddhist sect in Japan that's really hardcore, and those guys are down on the mountains in Hyeizan near Kyoto. And there's a famous story back in the 13th century or 14th century or something. Some bad guys came up on the mountain down there and took the bell from the temple, and the idea was they're going to melt it down and make weapons out of it. And so they took this bell and they went off down the mountain and went off heading out of Kyoto, and the monks all came roaring down off the mountain, caught up with these guys, killed them all and took their bell back. So that's the warrior monks of Hyeizan. So they're not aggressive. They don't go around trying to convert people to their beliefs, but quite commonly, because they're hardcore, they quite often are prepared to defend themselves, which is sort of along the lines of what these deities are about. You know, they're not aggressively doing anything to anybody, but they're just defending themselves against evil. This bell up the top here would have had a rope attached to it, and when you prayed to these guys, you'd pull the rope and ring the bell. Quite often they become fragile or cracked or damaged, and they disconnect the ropes because they don't want you banging them anymore. Quite a beautiful place, isn't it? And again, quite common. Those of you who have spent time in Japan will recognise this scenario. This is a very common scene. Now look at this. The sun was just in the right place for this. Isn't that spectacular? Quite beautiful, isn't it? 5-level pagodas there. Hope you enjoyed that. More videos coming soon.